To the Idaho college murders. Prosecutors visiting the off-campus house where 4 students were stabbed to death last year, collecting final evidence before the building is torn down. That's scheduled for next week, and it's dividing the victims' families. Kana Whitworth joins with more. Kana, good morning.
Michael, good morning. It certainly is, but the University of Idaho says that no request to retain the house was made by the defense or the prosecution. But the prosecution has now filed a motion for a date to be set in this long-awaited trial.
This morning, new developments in the Idaho college murder case. Prosecutors now pushing the judge to set a trial date for the summer of 2024. And a new filing arguing it would allow the expected 6-week trial to happen while nearby schools are closed and students are away. This comes as lead prosecutor Bill Thompson took what was likely his last walkthrough of the home on King Road, where 4 students were killed last year. The house set to be demolished Thursday. That decision dividing the victims' families. The family of Kaylee Gonzalez arguing the house is a critical piece of evidence that could be helpful at trial.
The family thinks it has an enormous amount of evidentiary value and should not be demolished. I'm also astounded the way the University of Idaho is handling the situation. I just can't understand why you wouldn't leave the house there. What's good for the University of Idaho is to probably demo the place, out of sight, out of mind.
But for victim Ethan Chapin's family, the bare land will resemble closure, telling ABC News, "We're supportive of the decision for the good of the university, its students, including our own kids, and the community of Moscow." Ethan had been visiting his girlfriend Xana Kernodle the night that he, Xana, Kaylee, and her lifelong best friend Madison Mogan were killed in November of 2022. Prosecutors claim Brian Koberger, a criminology PhD student at nearby Washington State University, stabbed them to death. The judge, who entered a not guilty plea on Koberger's behalf, now denying his request to get the charges against him thrown out.
Judge ruled that the state had followed the proper law and the proper procedure in indicting Mr. Koberger through the grand jury process.
So now, in addition to a trial date, prosecutors are also asking the judge to schedule a status conference and set deadlines for multiple things like pretrial motions and the completion of discovery. And certainly, you guys, that is something that Gonzalez family was happy to hear, as they feel like they are on the right path towards justice here.
Yeah, I'm sure they are happy to see that, Kana. Thank you so much. And let's bring in ABC News Chief Legal Analyst Dan Abrams. And Dan, we heard about the division between the families, if the house should be demolished or not. But are the prosecutors and the defense on the same page when it comes to the demolition?
At this point, they are. At this point, both the prosecution and the defense have said that they're okay with moving forward with the case without the house. Why? Well, in part because the FBI has already recreated the house. They've created a model that could be used in the context of the trial. And that's typically what would happen in a trial anyway. So from the purely legal perspective, it seems that both sides are in agreement.
Dan, at this point, though, is there anything some of these families can do to actually stop the demolition from happening?
I mean, look, in theory, they could file a lawsuit, right? That would be expensive, and it would be a real long shot. Remember, this is private property. This belonged to someone who donated it to the university. The university owns it, right? So the idea that they're going to be able to stop an entity which owns a piece of property from demolishing their own property when both the prosecution and the defense have said we're ready to move forward without it, it would be a real long shot. And so I don't think we're going to see it, although you never know if something is filed at the last minute.
One of the families raises a good point, because in other high-profile murder cases, the Murdaugh case, the O.J. Simpson case, jurors have actually made a trip to the crime scene. So is that something they're going to actually compromise here?
Yeah, so keep in mind that's very rare, right? We've seen it in a few high-profile cases, but it's very rare when you actually go to the house. There's a lot of potential issues that can come up as a result of that. But the reason you don't necessarily need it is because, A, it can cause problems, right? You go to the house, something happens, et cetera, people misinterpret things. But B, more importantly, they have another way to see that evidence. It would have to be such a crucial issue in the case. As in the Murdaugh case, how far was something away? Where did they have to walk to? Here, I don't think you have that. And as a result, I don't think that it's a significant evidentiary issue.
All right, Dan, always appreciate your expert opinion, my friend.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Well, hey, Hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.